Hello guys, so in today's video what we're going to do we are going to do a DevOps implementation for deploying a simple web app application. As you can see in the architecture diagram, what we have demonstrated here is that we have a team of developers, or the developers who are using a team version of Visual Studio, or they're using Visual Studio on their local laptop and workstations. And what we're going to do is to register that developer to a workstation laptop to the Azure DevOps organization into a project. And we'll also configure our Azure Git repo in that project. And then we will going to configure Azure CI and CD pipelines, which are actually going to be triggered when the code changes in Azure Git repo. Azure CI/CD pipeline will actually do the code testing and test it, and they build the image and then push the image to the staging slot of the Azure WebApp. Once the application WebApp staging slot get updated, we will have the full luxury of testing this application, full flexibility of testing this application in the slot, in the staging environment, in the actual staging environment in Azure. And once we are satisfied, we can always swap the deployment slots of the staging application to the production, and making sure that this is completely done. So we will do this design implementation step by step. In the first step, we are going to make sure the developer connection happens to the Git repo, and we will publish the application directly from the workstation to the Azure environment in the staging slot and then production slot. And later on in the part 2, we will introduce the concept of the build pipelines. So let's go and start our demo. So first of all, let's go and create a developer organization, which we call Azure DevOps organization. So let's create the DevOps organization first. As you can see, we're going to create a DevOps organization. And we create a DevOps organization, and we say X. So we create the first of all Azure DevOps organization, as you can see here, and that will be actually containing our DevOps repository as well. So let's create a project name here. We can call it, let's say today is 25th of December, so 25th 2002 2023. We can call it project bingo 25/12/23. So we just create a project here. So basically the first project is created. Once you have the project ready, then the next step is to, as you can see, we have the pipeline, artifacts, repo, boards, and everything is there. But the most important thing is repo. So as you can see, there's nothing in the repo right now. So let's go to our Visual Studio 2022, and let's create a simple web application there and connect it to our DevOps organization. So let's create a new project, and inside the project we'll take ASP.NET. Let's assume that our web application is a simple web ASP.NET web application. So we create the ASP core application. We can call it, let's say we can call it bingo web app 25/12/2023, and let's move on. And here you can see that the framework. So basically you can have different sort of frameworks: .NET 7, .NET 6. I'll go with .NET 7. Authentication type, you can also select for your application that you want to do a Microsoft Identity Platform based authentication or none for now. For simplicity, I'll keep the authentication type none. And I'm also enabling Docker for this application, although we're not going to do the Docker based testing here, but just creating a simple application, ASP.NET, which we're going to deploy in WebApp in Azure. So now we have deployed our application, as you can see here, because we selected enable with Docker, so you're getting a Docker file here as well. So the next step is to make some changes. So let's go back to our pages. Let's say we change something in the index.html. So let's say we change some code here. Let's save it first, and then we have to build the application. So let's say build the application. So now for debugging, and because you have enabled the Docker, so for debugging you should have Docker desktop on your laptop or your workstation. So it's actually rebuilding it, as you can see. So we'll wait for building of our application. Remember that this build is happening only in the local workstation or laptop environment. So let me pause the video and then come back once this build of the application is complete. So build is completed, as you can see, and we are good to go. If you want to run this application on your laptop, you can also run the Docker, and we can verify this application is working fine in our local environment. Because it's a simple web application, so it should be able to run very quickly. So we'll wait and we'll see what happens. As you can see, the local application is now running in the, for making sure that, you have to make sure that you should have, when you enable the Docker support, you should have something like Docker desktop on your local workstation or laptop to get this application up and running and tested in local environment. So that's fine. Now we will go and enable once again the Solution Explorer view. As you can see, this on the right hand side, we have the Solution Explorer view, and what we have to do is to configure our Git repository. So for creating the repository, you can go Solution Explorer again, and here you have the create the Git repository. So creating the Git repository means there are two options available. You can go with the GitHub or you can go to Azure DevOps. So let's say we're going with Azure DevOps, and the account is this one, as you can see here, and the organization is this one, and the project is this one, and this is the repository. So let's create and push this one. It will ask for re-entering the credentials. So now we are pushing our code to the Azure DevOps based repository. So it's asked for the password. Let's do that. And it created and also pushed the repository to Azure DevOps successfully. Now at this stage, if I go back to my repo here, let's go to the repo, and as you can see, we have the repository ready, I think. Let's try that. Yeah, so whatever we actually have done the code now actually available in our Azure DevOps organization, in our project, in our repo. Now, to make sure that this connection is working fine, what we can do is go back to the application and let's change some code here. Let's say we change now. Okay, so second, we make some changes, go back to Solution Explorer, and we have to do a commit. Now we're making changes in our application and committing. So when you commit, we say this is our second test of code change. Okay, we say commit all and save it, commit. So, and then we will just push it to the it will pull and then push to the Azure DevOps organization, as you can see here. So whatever changes we are doing here on local is being pushed to the Git repo. To verify that the Git repo has all the updated code, let's refresh it again. And as you can see here, the command which we have put there in our local laptop or local workstation, this is our second test of the code change. It's get reflected. So at this stage, basically, whatever changes we're doing for this simple web app application on our workstation laptop is being pushed to the Git repo repository. Now at this stage, you can actually publish your application, and to publish you can go back and we can publish it. As you can see, we have published, so we can publish it as well if you want to. If you want to publish it, for example, here it will ask you where you want to publish it. Now the thing is, at this stage we don't have any web app application deployed in Azure. So let's do you can create the web app from here as well, or you can actually create the web app first and then deploy the code from there, from your local workstation to that web app. Right now let's do that directly from here, and here we will select Azure App Services on Windows, which is the most simplest one. Okay, as you can see, it says that it doesn't have right now, so let's enter the credentials again. Okay, so we'll have to authorize it again. Sorry. So let's sign in. Now it's basically says that verification is required, so we have to go back to our email address and put the code here. Okay, now it says that, as you can see, it doesn't have any instance of Azure App Service. So let's create a new instance, and it is created. Let's create in Central India region test RG, and this is our hosting plan. You can create your hosting plan as well if you want. So let's create a new hosting plan here. The location has to be Central India. So Central India is, let's check for the Central India region. And yeah, here you go, Central India region. And we are saying basically I will go with the shared one, which is the cheapest option. I mean, you can go with the dedicated course as well if you want. So let's go for dedicated core B1 and let's create this application. So now we are creating a web app application in our account, and it got failed for some reason. So it says that change the SKU because it doesn't have the quota for it. So not a problem. So what we can do is we'll change it to instead of putting a dedicated core, what we can do, we can go with the shared option, and let's try the shared option. So because I'm using a free subscription, it has some restrictions. It says that it doesn't have any quota of zero. It doesn't have any quota for my subscription, and that's the problem we are facing right now. Maybe it has something in central US region. So let's go cancel it. Let's cancel it and let's try to recreate one more time. This time I'll go with test central test RG, and I'm not going to change this plan. Let's do that and see what happened. Maybe it's some sort of restriction which actually goes against my free subscription. It is not allowing me to create a hosting plan for my app service in Central India region for my free subscription. So I opted for whatever the hosting plan, which is in East US, and now it's creating the app service. So let's wait for the app service to complete and then we go from there. Let me pause the video and then come back once the creation of the app service is completed. It was able to complete the deployment of the application, the web apps application, but I really want to do, I'll go back to my Azure portal. Let's go back to the home and search for the web apps application. So let's check. Okay, so this is our application which is up and running. So what I'm going to do here is to create a slot, a deployment slot. I want to have a staging slot. So let's add a deployment slot from here. So let's add a slot. We call it staging slot. Okay, so let's add the staging slot here so that we have now two slots or two deployment slots in our web app application. Now what actually slot is, you can consider slot as a environment, so they're exactly replica of each other. So right now what I'm going to get a staging slot as well, which is exact replica of my production. And as you can see, it's 100% traffic is being sent to the production slot. So everything looks okay to me right now at this stage. The only thing is that I want to do step by step. So let's do that. And what we are going to do is we are going to check our application, how it's working. So let's start. As you can see, just right click on it, and it's loading. It says that application is live, but we don't have any content yet. So let's go back. I think we did not do the right thing. This is the hosting and this is the domain, and where is our application? So if I click browsing, it's not there yet. So let's go back. Oh yeah, because we have not deployed it yet. Sorry, my mistake. So now if I go back again and again take the Azure, okay, and then it should be able to see our deployment slots. Let's go back again. Azure and okay, so the thing is, it's not showing me the deployment slot. I don't want to deploy in the production. So probably we have to get out of it, cancel it, and then publish again. So let's try again, because once we have logged in, that's creating a problem. We already have cloud, it's not refreshing it. So let's do that again. Test RG, Bingo application, and now I'm getting the deployment slots. So we now have a staging slot. So we're going to deploy in the staging slot, and that's fine. Just finish it. So now we are publishing our application in our Azure application, but remember that we are not deploying it into the production slot. We are actually publishing it in the deployments in the staging slot of our application. So it's publishing, as you can see. We have to wait till this process of publishing to Azure WebApp service gets completed. So let's wait for a few minutes. It will take a few minutes to complete the publishing process, and then we'll come back again. The publish was successfully done. So let's open the site and see what happened. As you can see, it is actually running on our Azure. You can also verify it from Azure website. If you go back to the Azure website, here you have the application right now, app services. It's running, right? And that's our app service plan. And we have slots here, as you can see. And we have the slots. So let's go back to the deployment slots here. So it is running. So let's check this one. This is our staging slot, because we deployed into the staging slot. We did not deploy in the production slot. Okay, so let's check that. Sorry. So we have to go back to Azure staging, and this is the web app, and we have to access it. Yeah, as you can see, it's running fine. But at this stage, the slots are not identical, because if I check the browse, it's working fine, right? But if I go back to my production slot, it's still running and it does not have anything right now. So what I have to do is to swap. What swap will do is that it will actually make the staging content 100% equivalent to your production. So let's swap it. So in this case, the staging will become production, and production will become staging. So let's do swapping, because we have tested our application is working fine. Let's wait for the swapping process to complete. So as you can see, the swapping is completed successfully, and our production has become, the staging has been replicated back to the production. So let's go back to our application here, and as you can see now, the production is actually reflecting the same content which we are seeing in this staging. Now at this stage, because we have not completed or this demo is not completely showing the complete DevOps cycles, the approval processes and the build processes. It's a very simple landscape where actually the codes have been changed on the local laptop workstation, deployed to the staging slot. We verified the application is working fine in the staging, and then once it is verified, we just swap it from staging to the production. Let's repeat this whole thing again. So let's go back to our Visual C and let's try to do the whole process again. So in this case right now, if I go back to my let me make some changes in my application. So now we are going to do a final test. So let's change the code. We will just save it first, then we will build it, and again we are building the application on the local workstation laptop. Once the build is complete, it's up to you. You can also test in the local environment. Once it is tested, you can actually push the repository changes to the Azure Git repo, and once Git repo at this stage basically Git repo, when they get the new updated code, you can also have a pipeline to deploy this updated code in the staging slot, but without having a full automated cycle. You can also do a manual deployment. So this demo is not focusing on the complete DevOps cycle, so we're just trying to do it simple step by step. So as you can see, the build is complete. If you want to run on the local laptop, you can run it on the local laptop and see how the application is working fine on my local environment. When the development testing is done, we will push the code. So it's working fine on my local laptop, as you can see. And now I'm going to do a commit to my Azure Git repo. Okay, and I commit it. It's locally committed, and now I'm syncing it to my Azure Git repo. So Azure Git repo is done. Let's go back to my Azure Git repo. This is my development organization. Let's go to the project, and inside the repository you will find our repository here. As you can see, we got the commit. This is the final test code changes done by Tiger. So basically the code changes, the final code changes are done. At that stage, again, as I said, if we are going to deploy a complete DevOps toolchain cycle, then basically we should have a pipeline, and the pipeline we should enable the continuous integration, and the pipeline should be able to detect those code changes in Git repo and should be able to push the code to the Azure WebApp application staging slot. But right now we have not defined that step, so we are doing it manually. So the code changes are here. So what we have to do is we have to publish our application. So let's go and publish our application. So let's go and publish it. So we'll go and publish the application again, and we are going to publish it again. So now it's again going to publish in our staging slot. So we'll go back in Azure and verify that our application is working fine in staging environment of my web application. So as you can see, it's publishing to Azure WebApp. Let's wait for publish to finish. So as you can see, the publish is successfully done. If I click on open site right now, just have to make sure that you understand the concept that we are not deploying this application changes directly into the production slot. So if you open site, it will open the staging slot of the web application. So to verify this, let's go back to our application, and as you can see, we have two slots here. So let's check the so let's check the staging slot right now. Let's browse it. So as you can see, with the final test, we're getting this one. But if I go back and if I go to the production one, which is my production application, and try to open the as you can see, the code has not been changed here. The production still is showing our second simple test, while the staging is showing the final test. So what we have to do is to just do a swap of the slots. So let's go back to the deployment slots. We have verified that the staging application looks fine, or the application staging environment looks fine. So just let's do the swap and start the swap. So at this stage, our staging environment will become production or copy of the existing production, and production will become existing copy of the staging environment. So basically, we are promoting our changes, the final code changes in the production. So let's wait for the swap process to complete. So our swap is complete, as you can see here. So at this stage, if I go back to my application and try to browse the application, as you can see, it has become the final. Interestingly, if I go back to my deployment slots, and if I go with the staging one and try to browse it, as you can see, it's actually showing the second simple test. So it means that the production and staging is completely swapped. And the best advantage of, or best benefit of this design from Azure is that with a simple click, you can always roll back. So for example, you promoted the environment, the application code changes to the production environment, and for some reason application doesn't work. So by a simple click, you can swap it back. So the staging will become production and production will become staging again. So hopefully you like this video. If you like this video, please subscribe, like the video and subscribe to my channel. In the next episode of the same video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the pipelines and complete our DevOps design for this simple web application. Thanks for watching.